curious, Candace, to rewind just a little bit back about your purpose, because I was reading through some of your info in our guest questionnaire, and you talked about how you've always had these huge dreams, right? As a young girl, you wanted to be the best in rodeo, you wanted to start your own business, and you had these dreams, but at some point you realized that more than anything, you wanted to be a mom. And Jerrod and I were talking a little bit off air, and I was telling him, I was like, you know what? If I was a woman, I feel that that would probably be something that I'd be like, I have to be a mom at some point, right? Like I have the ability to create and birth a human being, right? So, but it's surprising to me when I do talk to young women. Like I had an employee of mine who shared with me that she has no interest in being a mother, and that surprised me sometimes. So I'm curious for you, Candace, with all of these big dreams that you had as a young woman, was there a moment, an experience, or like what exactly was it where it just clicked for you of like, you know what, more than anything, I want to be a mom?
Um, you know, Probably the biggest thing for me is that me and my husband and the way that we live our lives, I feel like the life that we've created around us, that having these children that get to experience what we have and what God blessed us with is really, it's just a treasure that I'm like, man, I want to share this with these little beings. And I want, not that our whole world revolves around them, but I want to create this, not that it has to be perfect, but just like this childhood that's magical, that it's, my Instagram handle is In the Wild and Wonder. And the reason that I came up with that is that our life can be wild and it can be chaotic and it's not exactly perfect, but finding like the wonder through all of that. And that's what I really feel that motherhood can be too. So many times, and we were talking about the funny mom memes before we got on air here, but I feel like especially right now, so many times moms are like, like I can't wait until 5 o'clock and I'll grab a glass of wine and I'll unwind and I'll make my husband take care of the kids and all of that stuff. Which I'm not saying that I've never been there and I don't have that mindset. Some days there are some days that are just like that. But I think that moms almost focus too much on the hard times with kids, which like I said, I've definitely had those, but I really want to find the wonder in the middle of the chaos and that I get to do this, because instead of that I have to do this, like I get to do this and I get to instill like my values into these little beings that are so curious and they're like little sponges and they want to learn and they want to grow, but then they've also got their own personalities. And I take being a mom so serious. It's one of the biggest things that I study in God's word, and I read books on it. Obviously, we've talked about that, and I listen to podcasts on it. Like I really feel like I'm a student of how to raise up these little humans. And one of my favorite parts in the Bible that I've read is in Proverbs 31. And everybody talks about the Proverbs 31. She's this, she's that, she's this. But what I love is the little bit at the very beginning of Proverbs 31. And it's King Solomon talking about his mother and what she instilled in him and what she told him and how it stuck with him. And history shows that King Solomon was the wisest king, the richest king that ever lived. And I'm just like, man, like his mama did good. And it's so many times that people that change the world, a lot of times they had this mother that loved them and instilled these values in them. And I'm like, if I want to change the world, I really believe that it'll be through these two little girls that I'm raising. And I'll have a bigger impact and a bigger legacy because I've instilled in them, because that's generation after generation. Because you guys could probably attest, you probably had a grandmother that prayed for you. And Ali, I remember you talking about your grandmother just in the post in the last year and like such an impact that she had on you. And I mean, those mothers have such a huge impact on, and I'm not saying fathers don't too, because they have definitely,
Yeah.
but it's just like a different relationship. And I think that it's the way that we can nurture and love and change the world through love, really.